wow, has it been an ugly day so far. None worse than Snapchat, which has really just unwound every single thing that the COVID trade gave it. Even Google's doing very poorly, and these things are just melting down. Let's look at the S&P. It's still holding on and probably going to test the lows again because that's a true bear market. See if we can close below 3850. I think that we're going to rally. I think that there's too much cash on the sidelines, but looking into charts like this is just extremely, extremely painful. I mean, this is a company that looks cheap to me. Looks like it's going to grow. They say that they're taking their earnings down. I don't know who makes those earnings estimates or whatever anyway, but you know, for a company that is used by a lot of people and has a lot of latent value for the next step of AR or VR, I can't believe it's trading this cheaply. I mean, I can because there's naked short selling, but yeah, it's getting really, 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 really cheap. And I'm sort of shocked that we're trading down this low, to be honest. We're going all the way back to 2020 levels for a lot of tech stocks. And it's kind of tough to watch because you want to see the companies that are doing new things get invested in, but we're all going back towards the value stocks. Companies that are losing revenue, that are shrinking, or are doing better than companies that are growing. So you don't like to see that. It's not good for the economy. This is a Fed engineered pivot, and you can just crush stocks at the margin. I mean, I'm sure somebody sold puts and is getting blown out. This looks like a liquidation day. Honestly, there's a lot of red. There's so much red. When you see Google down 7.2% and Facebook down 10%, I mean, Facebook I do think has lower to go, but this is mega caps losing a bunch of market cap. And that usually happens during liquidation phases. So, hopefully we get past this. I think picking up stocks while things are so red is probably a pretty good idea. Even Baba's down. The contagion's going from America to Asia back to America, and it's not looking good. Everyone's in Davos now. I wonder what they're talking about. Sell tech stocks? If so, I would be fading that because that's what they say every single year. These companies have everything that we need for the future, and yet they're getting sold off just almost indiscriminately. There's definitely some discrimination as to which stocks are getting sold off more so, but I wonder if it's just against somebody's book in a liquidation phase. So hopefully this pulls back and pulls together. I think we're at a technical buy point, but we could go lower. If we're really going to talk about a bear market, that's the level that I'd be looking at, that 32 to 3,300 level, because that's where the election, if we're going to, for midterms, are we going to wind back all of Biden gains and then be talking about that? I think Biden's probably going to change his tune on the stock market before that happens, but who knows? It's a macro game. The flows decide everything. Everything goes up and down at the same time. It sucks. It's so annoying, quite frankly. It's hard to pick stocks in this environment because you're basically just picking the S&P. You're like, okay, well, which way? Is the S&P tide going to go up? If that tide's going up, then I want to do this. The one thing that is interesting today is a hard rally from the 2-year hard rally for all the bonds today. It's a risk-off day, but that's not helping tech one iota. So what are we worried about? Inflation. We've always been worried about inflation. Tech inflation is going to be easily passed off to the consumer. It's just marginally where they can move these stocks. When you have liquidation days, like if somebody is 2 offsides long, you're just going to hammer the stocks that they're in. And that's looking like what's been happening here. So on days like these, it seems very hard to be bullish, but this is where I would be. I'd be selling puts. Selling puts is a great way to pick up premium, especially when the VIX is where it's at, which is spiking. where is it? It's back above 30 again, but this has been a rounding. Maybe goes back up to 32 if we really get a hard sell off throughout the day. But yeah, I'd be adding to stocks and not bonds. Use the 10-year as your, you know, discount rate determining mechanism. Look at that, you know, that's a bottoming out process. I think yields are not going too north because it would just be too damaging to the economy. You can already see what yields are doing to stocks. So, bloody day in the market. Hopefully people are making money, but I doubt that there's not many people making money. It's only the proprietary desks that are hammering these things. So, long-term investors, get in, hold on. It's going to be quite the ride. Take your pick. There's a lot of red stocks today. It's better to buy on red days than green days, but stay along for the ride. Um, some stocks have gotten really, really cheap, and I'm looking at PayPal for that. I'm looking at Google's getting cheaper. Tesla's still too expensive. Apple's getting to be cheap again. Um, and this is just based off of how much growth that I think that they're going to have over the next couple of years. But everything could disappoint. It's about the chip trade for tech, and we're a lot of geopolitics involved with the chip trade, a lot of geopolitics involved with the energy trade, and it's just slowing down the economy. But like I said, you know, in videos previous, just because the economy slows down doesn't mean that stocks are going to do poorly. I think that stocks are doing poorly now in anticipation of the economy slowing down. And then when that news comes out that we're actually are slowing down, decelerating on GDP, then stocks are going to do great because secular growth is going to be in style again. Tech's going to trade up. The interest rates are going to go down. People are going to stay in bonds because they're not so worried about inflation overpowering their earning power. Um, I really do think that inflation is going to leave this year. And then next year we're going to be talking about disinflation, below average inflation again. But we'll see. It's a hard day to be bullish on stocks, but like I said, sell puts, buy covered calls, take on some risk, not too much risk. Just start nibbling on days like this when it's so red.